Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Guardians of the CLE podcast. And if you would just want to know how painful it is being a fan of the Guardians right now, just know that I went out to start doing yard work and get the ground ready to mulch in like the sixth inning, and I'm still not in as much pain as I'm in when I watch the Guardians on offense the first 2 months of the season. But we're going to get into all that. I'm your host, Melanie Kirby, and back with me, fresh off the injured list. Not so injured, but he's back in the rotation. He's back here with us, James Elifritz. How you doing, James?
Gosh, I'm pretty much like everybody else, maybe a little more optimistic, but man, it's tough to be optimistic right now. And we got to give credit to our other Bleed Lane Media guys that are doing orange and brown weekly all the time with some really tough brown seasons and all that losing. So yeah, we're having to adjust to this. And yeah, I know there's a lot of things we want to get to today. And I know, Mel, you want to get some things off your chest. I mean, hell, the Guardians scored 0 runs. So there's what's there to talk about?
Yeah, I kind of so it's like the last 3 or 4 weeks, like nothing's changed and my feelings have remained the same. However, something changed in me over the weekend while the Guardians were in Queens playing the Mets. And there was something about Friday night that absolutely broke me mentally as far as this team goes. And the reason that happened is because I came to this realization that this team is incapable of playing a cohesive, complete baseball game. Obviously, all season long, the problem has been the offense, as we know. Finally, on Friday, Josh Naylor stays hot. First inning, 3-run homer. And we're like, okay, this is going to be different. This is good. Sure as shit, the offense shows up and the pitching does not. And I kind of want to make one thing clear, too. I don't think the bullpen as a whole is as big of an issue on this team as some are making it out to be, and me included, heat of the moment Friday night. Just looking over some stats and kind of deep diving into the data, and this isn't a bad group. I think this group is gassed. The top guys, they're tired. They're not bad. They're all working through things, and they just picked a really bad night to implode. What I do think, though, is I almost crashed my car when Tito brought James Karinchak in with the bases loaded. Like, I was so shocked. Like, I'm just listening on the radio. I'm working my second job. Hammy says James Karinchak's coming in, and I was literally stunned. Because if we know one thing about James Karinchak all season is he's our most volatile reliever, and he gives up a shit ton of home runs. And my concern with Tito is we have one of the most analytical front offices in the game of baseball. We know this. But Tito's to this point in his career now where like analytics have really began to take over, and it's like the game is just flying by him. And if he looked at those stats, he would see that James Karinchak is not the pitcher he was with sticky stuff. He's lost over 50% of his spin. His fastball's flat. He has no command of his curveball, and he has no business being our setup man. And I don't know how long we're going to have to run with this, but that grand slam literally broke me because I think all of us knew that Pete Alonso was hitting a grand slam. And then just to come back, Gabriel Arias, again, the boys are fighting. They're finally showing fight. And then Clase blows it. It's just, I don't know what they did. They pissed off the baseball gods last year, and we're paying for it.
What you're saying is we're not playing complimentary baseball. That's
Single,
exactly what we did last year, and it worked.
Every single area of the game has been garbage.
So what I would like to say is that we're kind of like a rock guitarist. We got vocals. We have a team in place. We got a band in place. But when we try to rehearse, it just doesn't sound good. Somebody's got to, tune their guitar or the vocals are off a little bit, that's really where we're at. We're struggling these first 2 months. None of us really expected that. But if you look at all the stats that, all the projections and the way building off of our success last year, what I did last night, Mel, I was looking through. So I know you play fantasy baseball too, correct?
Yeah, I haven't been as active as I should be, to be honest.
Well, I haven't been as active either, but I'm kind of back and forth. I am in first place, by the way, out of 12 teams.
Nice. Better than the Guardians.
I was looking at like the projected ranks for the beginning of the season versus where we're at now with our season total. Like a pre-ranking, who's our best player?
Jose.
So his pre-ranking, he was number 5 for fantasy baseball. His season rank right now is 91. Stephen Kwan was 116. He's actually at 110 right now. Doesn't that really surprise you though? He would actually be slightly better than his projection.
Yeah. It's funny because as you mentioned these projections, right? I thought back to when Fangraphs released their Zips projections, and they predicted like pretty significant regression for our team offensively. And I know me and most people on Guardians Twitter were like, oh no, they're just undervaluing our guys. Like, there's no way Stephen Kwan this and Andres Jimenez that. And we all kind of took it personally, like, oh, Guardians against the world again. We're going to come out and play Al Qaeda ball, and we're just going to bunt single everybody to death again. And just kind of looking back at these Zips projections before the season, and like, it's even worse than that, but like, they were on the right track with the regression. And I think part of the problem too, James, is I think last season, these guys came up, they caught fire, they were playing with confidence, they were playing for each other, and it took them all the way through October, all the way
and
to
they
the
fed off each other too.
Yeah, all the way to the ALDS. And it kind of fooled us into thinking like, oh, just catcher first base, we're good everywhere else. And we didn't factor in regression as much as like Zips projections and other national outlets did. And I think that was part of the point. Chris Antonetti wanted to see how much regression was going to factor into this team. But I keep going back to this negligence on the part of the front office. And they were very good for a very long time. But if we're going to get really honest, which is what we do on this podcast, we're going to admit that over the past few years, this front office has not been very good. And there's a few reasons for this. First being, we could go all the way back to Yandy Diaz. Tito didn't like him. There was no place for Yandy Diaz. He never gave him a chance. It's almost like what's happening with Tyler Freeman right now. The whole thing where he felt like he couldn't come and talk to Tito about his playing time, and Lindor went and did it, and all that drama. And obviously we know what Yandy Diaz is in Tampa Bay. He's outstanding. He's a big reason for their success. We look to a more minor deal during the roster crunch of 2021. And we look and we see they traded Junior Caminero, who draws comparisons to Fernando Tatis. They trade him for Tobias Myers, who obviously was a colossal disaster, and he got DFA'd off the roster last year. Then we got coming in second to Matt Olson and Jesse Winker. Thank God on Jesse Winker. Matt Olson would have been very nice. The unwillingness to deal any of these starting pitching prospects. And most importantly, the number one problem right now, like Tito's talking to reporters with the most ridiculous comment about Tyler Freeman. And the one thing he's like, I don't know how to get him playing time. Like, this is weird. I'm going to read the quote really quick, James, just to give anybody who hasn't heard it, they can kind of have an idea of what we're talking about here. So Tito was asked prior to the game today, why is Tyler Freeman only played twice in the last 10 days and he has the second highest WRC plus on your team? Terry Francona says, it's hard. It's hard. And that frustrates me a little bit because it's a kid that we think can help us. And you're worried about his development also. And that it bothers me at times. I just haven't figured out a way to do that yet. Normally these things have a way of taking care of themselves, but until it does, I do think about that a lot. It's basically just a whole roundabout answer. Whatever. I don't know what people expect when reporters ask questions. But last thing, the thing that's blocking all this is Ahmed Rosario. If you didn't have Ahmed Rosario on this team, you'd be able to play Brian Rocchio, Gabriel Arias, Tyler Freeman, all pretty regular at bats. Who could have guessed that this was going to be a problem? The front office was unwilling to trade any of these top prospects. They didn't move Ahmed Rosario, which was stupid. And I've said that it's stupid all offseason. This isn't just some hot take because he's not hitting and he's the worst defender at shortstop in baseball. This has been a take of mine. And we're seeing the worst case scenario with that come true. And the front office has plenty of blame to take with what's happening now.
I don't know what you said Freeman, Rocchio, and Arias are going to get regular playing time. I don't see it. I only see if Rosario's gone, you got room for one. Because Jimenez is going to play.
Yeah, then you have Freeman as your bounce around the whole infield. He can play every single infield spot and left field. So he's going to have more at bats there. And then you also have Arias as an option in right field.
Which still I'm just surprised he's out there based on if you go back to spring training. So I heard a conversation this week on sports radio. They were talking about what did Oscar do to get sent down other than struggle like other guys? In other words, even go back to spring training. When he came into spring training, look how he ended the season. In the playoffs, being somewhat of a savior at certain moments. So you have a team that needs power. And yes, he struggles as a fielder as well. But how did he even not have the advantage, the leg up, to hold that right field spot? And we wanted to see what we could get out of Brennan as well. So I'm with you on that. But he's the one that should have been challenging Miles Straw at center field more so than I think
Oscar?
right field. No.
Oh,
Brennan.
I was like, wait a minute.
Instead of Brennan and Gonzalez and Wright, I think we had that conversation.
Yeah, Brennan's the best option in center. I think.
Offensively, correct.
Miles Straw's best role on this team will always be as a fourth outfielder and a pinch runner, which is why it was shocking last night. Again, Tito negligence. Why are you not pinch running for Josh Bell in the 9th inning? Knowing how many double plays your team hits into, knowing there's a ground ball pitcher on the mound, and you have Tyler Freeman and Miles Straw on your bench, two of the fastest guys on the team, and you're leaving Josh Bell out there, and I get he wasn't the tying run. I do understand that. But what I don't understand is, in that moment, you need to be worried about staying out of the double play. When your offense is struggling this bad, that double play, the game was over. They might as well not even got the third out. And that's the problem. These double plays, which it feels like every time we have the bases loaded, 2 runners on, Quan leads off with a nice walk or a bloop single. He's immediately erased before he even has a chance to run, really, because Ahmed Rosario is so aggressive. And we had the same issue with Gabriel Arias last night, but he was too patient. He took a fastball right down the pipe just because Josh Bell took a walk.
When I listened to highlights today, the Chicago guys were saying the same thing about the strikeouts that were today. They were saying, look, took another ball, another slider right down the middle, or another fastball right down the middle. Like, what are you doing? This
might be the worst fastball hitting team I've ever seen. And Michael Kopech is, anybody who doesn't know, Michael Kopech is known high fastball, high fastball, high fastball. He lives up in the zone with the fastball, right? And it's funny, speaking of Michael Kopech and today was just an embarrassment. It was disgusting. And I asked on Twitter, and James, you probably had seen it. I asked people, so what do you want me to vent about tonight? Right? Because like the last 2 weeks, it's just been like me ranting about the offense, because what else is there to really talk about? There's nothing positive. And Azuna Films mentioned this exact point. They're a person who listens to opposing teams' broadcasts a lot, just to kind of get a feel for what other teams are saying. And they said, how do the Guardians adjust to a seemingly league-wide approach that all the opposing teams' announcers I listen to are taking with them? High fastballs, top of the zone or above it, fastballs away and off speed, or breaking pitches inside because of the team's lack of exit velocity. And this is a ginormous problem for this team right now. Andres Jimenez cannot lay off that high fastball, the one out of the zone. Will Brennan struggles with velocity in general, which, to your point, in that area, Oscar does have the advantage because Oscar can hit a fastball. What Oscar can't do is lay off the off-speed stuff, kind of a la Ahmed Rosario. Those are two guys that will chase that off-speed stuff, that slider in the other batter's box. But I was looking at Andres Jimenez because on this point, I don't know about you, James, but I do think it's time we have a conversation about Andres Jimenez. And I noticed it today, but when Andres Jimenez is struggling, and we've kind of seen it all year, I think that's why he was bunting a lot early. It just seems like he wanted to have a productive at bat any way he could and just get out of the way. He didn't have any confidence that he personally could get a run over, get a run in. He just wanted to do what he could and get back in the dugout. And now we're starting to see Andres Jimenez. He's hitting the ball a little bit harder. Like, he looks close, but now he's playing like desperate baseball. Like, he's sliding into first. He's trying to take second on a clear single. And you're not going to turn your season around in one game.
Are you talking about today's
baseball? Yes.
That the one he got thrown out at second.
Yeah.
We're down 6-0.
Yeah.
And he gets thrown out at second, the 8th inning?
Yeah.
And he's the first out of the inning now. We need base runners. See,
yeah.
I mean, you can tell these guys are all pressing. They're pressing.
And
every one
this
of them.
Andres Jimenez has an average exit velocity of 84.2. It is the bottom 1 percentile in all of Major League Baseball. 84.2 miles an hour. I'm not being funny. I think Miles Straw is higher than him. Miles Straw's at 86.3. Miles Straw is hitting the baseball harder than Andres Jimenez over the course of the first 2 months of this year.
I think one of the Guardians of Traffic statues has better exit velocity than that.
They got to. And we see Owen Miller. He's in Milwaukee. He has like 4 home runs. He's smoking the shit out of the ball right now. And it makes me wonder, James, why does this organization not care about barreling the baseball? Because we talked about it. Josh Bell is so confused why his launch angle is all screwed up. Josh Bell has never hit this many ground balls in his life. And he's like, my launch angle's out of whack. I got to get my launch angle together. He beats every ball in the ground to the first baseman. Sometimes it finds a hole. Sometimes it doesn't. When was the last time Josh Bell hit the damn ball in the air to the outfield?
I haven't seen a good at bat from him since Washington.
Yeah, and I mean, as far as slugging goes, right? Because he takes walks, but like, dude, you're not our leadoff hitter. Like, I'm glad you're not like hitting into double plays every at bat or striking out, but like, we need more than a walk out of you, dude. Like, you and Naylor are Jose's protection. Like, this lineup and Jose goes as you guys go. Because if other teams aren't scared of Naylor and Bell, nobody's pitching to Jose. And notice Jose started getting hot again when Josh Naylor started hitting the ball out of the park. And I just can't for the life of me figure out why it's like all contact is good. Just make contact. These guys aren't looking for their pitch and dialing in on it. These guys are swinging at anything that they can to just simply make contact. I don't care if you strike out or you're bouncing the ball to the second baseman. That's not a productive out.
I mean,
nobody's hitting the ball hard. It's like watching a little league team.
and in fairness to Josh Bell, he's got 29 walks, right? He scored 7 runs. That's because he has nothing going on behind him. But
Yeah,
as a player, if you and I are in the lineup and you're struggling and I'm struggling and you're doing everything you can just to get on base, do we fault a guy for trying to get on base? As much as we need runs, yes.
Yeah,
Whoever has the most runs wins the game. I get it. But you're also struggling. You're doing anything you can to get on base.
Yeah, and he's like, we need base runners, like you were just saying about Jimenez. Like, if you're down that much, you're gonna need base runners. So what do we do about it? Like, pitching wise, we got Tristan and Aaron Savali coming back, right? That's a whole nother question. The pitching's been all right. Like, I don't know that Tristan and Savali really fix much besides maybe not being down in an early hole some games, but I don't know, James. I was saying on Twitter earlier, they need to go with a 6-man rotation. Keep Bibee and Allen's innings low, keep Savali healthy, and see what happens at the trade deadline, because they need to have an addition by subtraction approach to fix this thing.
Is that what a Shane Bieber wants? Is that what your number one wants?
What?
Maybe that extra rest on a 6-day or 6 player rotation like that.
See, I'm the wrong one to ask because I'm move them, trade
there's
them.
There's so much that we don't see as fans that, you know, from like Francona, man, you're managing stats. I get it. You see people struggling, but you know damn well if there's anybody in this league as a manager that's going to remain patient and loyal to his players, it's him.
That's all he's got right now.
That's what he's been his entire career, and it's worked for him.
Yeah, he's never been about strategy. And we're seeing it. And I think the thing is, Tito's had really good teams. Like, those teams were able to perform. Where this team as it's constructed right now, being one of the most historically worst offenses in recent baseball history, there needs to be a lot of strategy. Like, to just move guys in the lineup, pinch run guys, defensive replacements, hit and runs, like something to stay out of double plays and provide a spark. Interchanging guys. Why are we not using the bench at all? Why are Tyler Freeman and David Fry here? Those are knocks on Tito. His in-game decision-making has never really been that good because of the lack of strategy. But, like, with this team as bad as it is, like, I need our manager to help them out. And it's just run the same thing out every freaking day. Bash your heads into a freaking wall and wait till it breaks. Like, that's what watching this team feels like, because nothing changes if nothing changes. Like, the changes are gonna come. They're 5 back right now, and they're gonna stay within 5-6 games. And that concerns me. They're just gonna hold on to everybody, and that's not fixing our problems, because this team is not going anywhere with no power and no slugging.
Now, in the offseason, we talked one of the big things that I wanted to add to this team was experience.
Mm-hmm.
Was it experience that somebody that's had experience in the playoffs, you know, coming off the bench that doesn't have to play every day, a solid veteran that can pull these guys aside and really help. And I'm not saying Jose is not the leader on the team, and I know Rosario's looked at well in that clubhouse
He
too
can
by
be the
other
clubhouse
players.
guy from the bench.
But
I'm so sick of him.
No, I know that. But what I'm saying is we
sick.
got to have somebody that, as a veteran, that can not only have these conversations with their teammates, but then go out and back it up too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And these guys that can come in on a Wednesday night in a cold, rainy game in Chicago and can hit a 3-run homer to take the lead in the 8th inning and help win that game and end a losing streak. Things like that. We need that. That's the thing I'm concerned about is, yes, we're trying to bring all these players up, but the problem is they're all young. They're all trying to cut their teeth too. All that worked in our favor last year. Right now, it's not. Because when it's not working as your starters, you're looking down the bench at who else can help us, and there's still a lot more youth there. You don't have those vets that are coming in to help. Look what the Pirates did. Who thought the Pirates would be what they are? They brought McCutchen back. They brought in Carlos Santana. So they got some seasoned vets that's played in the playoffs to help the young team get through this.
Yeah.
So we have to. I the way I look at it, Mel, is that we're playing. The reason why I think when as an organization, we go after the starting pitchers, we're going after the middle infielders, because as they develop and stay on your major league roster, they're the cheaper version. Because if you get the Aaron Judges and the Otanis that can hit home runs, damn well we're not going to be able to retain them. Hell, even Lindor was doing a great job hitting home runs as a shortstop. And we knew we were going to have to move
This
him.
team hit home runs with Van Berkeley. The approach changed.
So where do we gain the power from the farm? Is it Gonzalez?
We don't have it.
Is it Valera? Can he get
Valera's
healthy?
hurt too much.
Right.
I can't rely on Valera. John Kenzie Noel strikes out too much. Can't rely on Noel this year. You have to make a trade. Like, they can't keep kicking the can down the road. But again, I take the addition by subtraction approach. I would trade Bieber to the Orioles for a Colton Cowser, a guy not a vet, but he's a guy the Guardians would love. Great on base skills, great contact and hits for power, super high slugging percentage. He's a guy you would want to target with all those years of control that they treasure so dearly. What's going to be interesting is just how long do they ride it out with this crew if they don't perform? Tomorrow's the last off day this team has until Monday, June 5th. So, James, they're finishing off the homestand this weekend against the Cardinals. Tough matchup. Cardinals are playing a lot better as of late. Then they head out to Baltimore and then to Minnesota for 4 games. Again, that's going to be another big series, and we get Pablo Lopez, we get Joe Ryan, we get Bailey Ober, who shut us down last time. So it's time to shit or get off the pot for these guys. You're 5 back now. Will they wait till they're 10, 12 games back to make a change? I guess you'll just have to come back next week and listen to us on the next episode of the Guardians of the CLE to see if the Guardians kept their head above water. But I hope you guys feel better after listening to this kind of ranting and raving. You got James bringing the rational, the facts, and I appreciate that from him because I get emotional and volatile, just like our offense as of late. Offensive.
Well, the division can't be won in April and May.
It can be lost.
But it can be lost. But we're still right there. Our division's a pile of crap. We're the NFC East of, I don't know, 4 years ago, where everybody sucked, but somebody had to win the division.
And they got to look at it like we can't just aim to win the division. We know we need to be a lot better than just winning this division to have a chance in October. But I want to thank everybody for listening. Enjoy your off day tomorrow. Do something with your family. Get out and touch some grass. The weather should be beautiful. Let's just enjoy our day with no Guardians baseball because we got about a 10-day stretch where it's going to be Guardians every day. And in the meantime, make sure you're following the podcast page at Guardians OTCLE. Stay up to date on all the latest on episodes, guests, polls, all that good stuff. We love interacting with you guys. And head on over to BelieveLandMediaLLC.com for all your general sports news and podcasts, as well as high school sports and the Ohio State Buckeyes. And James, until next week, I swear we need to be talking about a winning week or I'm literally going to go play in traffic. This is getting insane.
And I want everybody to have a good Memorial Day weekend. Enjoy your long weekend.
Cookouts.
Keep Will Brennan's bird in your thoughts and prayers.
You see what I said on Twitter? He sacrificed a bird to save the season.
Yeah.
The Orioles are the birds. Is Chris Antonetti about to fleece Baltimore in a trade? At the deadline?
Who knows? Man, this episode could not be long enough. There is so much we could keep going on. But
Tristan McKenzie, Savali due back soon too. Savali just made another rehab start, and Cody Morris went out on a rehab assignment. I know a lot of us forgot about him, but he pitched an inning for Akron tonight and looked good. 11 of his 16 pitches were strikes or something like that. So he's another guy to add to the merry-go-round of starting pitchers we have. A good bullpen arm. We'll just see how it plays out.
And we look forward to speaking and having another great podcast in June. So we'll see everybody in June.
Yeah, last one of May. Thank you all so much for listening, supporting us. Make sure you're sharing the episodes, telling a friend. We greatly appreciate it. Until next week, everybody stay safe, stay healthy. Don't let the Guardians make you crazy. And go Guardians anyways.
Go Guards.